Welcome, and thank you for joining JDC this morning for the final installment in our three-part series on JDC's coronavirus update briefings. Today, we will hear from Melina Groisman, Manager of JDC Volunteer Center, RVC, in Kishinev, Moldova, Rabbi David Levenkreuz, Director of Jewish Education in JDC Europe, Rabbi Josh Mikudis, Jewish Learning Designer, and Twine, Agata Rakiewicz, Director, JDC Warsaw, Poland. Our topic today is to explore how JDC is bringing Passover celebration to all parts of the global Jewish community. Before we get started, we want to share some technical information. You're on mute and we can't see you, so feel free to get comfortable while you listen. As you look around your screen, you should see a tool for chatting. We'll be using the chatting function for interactive portions of this call. There will be no formal Q&A portion of the call, but if you do have a question, you can post it in the chat box and we'll do our best to answer. Today, you'll hear about how 4 communities around the globe are responding to the upcoming celebration of Passover. Let all who are hungry come and eat. This line from the Passover Haggadah is usually the invitation to have friends, family, and even strangers sit around our tables and tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. This year, in a time of worldwide pandemic, when we are isolating and limiting social contact, our seders will look different. For over a century, JDC has worked to provide Jews with critical relief in times of need, including distributing matzah for Passover seders all over the world. In 1990, on the eve of the Soviet Union's collapse, JDC organized Operation Passover, allowing for many Soviet Jews to take part in Jewish traditions during a time for the first time in decades, if not their entire lives. This year, amid the current global health crisis, JDC is continuing this tradition, delivering matzah where it is needed and looking for ways to help the elderly and those that are isolated participate in seders through technology. For the first stop on our journey today, I would like to introduce Rabbi David Levenkreuz, Director of Jewish Education, JDC Europe.
Thank you, Andrea, for that introduction. And it's really, really wonderful for me to be together with you today. I always say I have one of the most fun jobs in the whole of the JDC. I get to combine work with the wonderful, creative European Jewish community, as well as hands-on work with ideas and Jewish texts. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful combination. And it gives me great pleasure to wish you all a very, very happy Sukkot. Now, you may think that I've just gotten mixed up and forgotten which holiday it is, but what I would like to share with you today is how I think this year there's a very, very special connection between Pesach and the Feast of Tabernacles. As Andrea said, one of the central moments in many Pesach Seders is when the leader of the Seder holds up a matzah, like I'm doing now, and says, Ha lach ma'aniyah. This is the bread of suffering that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. All those who are hungry, let them come in and eat. All who are in need, let them come celebrate the Passover. Now we are here, next year in the land of Israel. This year we are slaves, next year we will be free. In this statement, the matzah is an example of the bread that the Israelites ate when they were slaves. But matzah has another quality. It is also the bread that the children of Israel ate when they escaped Egypt and got their freedom. Elie Wiesel says that halachma is the moment in the Seder when the bread changes from the bread of slavery to the bread of liberty. Slaves do not share their food. Free people share, and it's the act of sharing that gives them liberty. And sharing Seder is such a powerful thing. I remember last year, when we had Seder at our home, our guests kept on canceling and we didn't have enough guests, and it was felt like it wasn't Seder unless we had some real guests. It just didn't feel right. And I remember we were quite anxious. Personally, what would it be like to have a Seder that would be just family? So what do we do this year when it is challenging to ask others to participate in our Seder or to be guests at other people's Seder? And for this is where Sukkot comes in. And I think we can borrow an idea from the holiday which comes in 6 months' time. On Sukkot, as many people know, huts are built outside and are used for eating and sleeping. And there is a custom to invite a different virtual guest to the sukkah every night. First night is Abraham, second night is Isaac, third night is Jacob, and so on. These guests are called by the Aramaic word ushpizin. Some of you might have seen a movie with the same name. And obviously, while they do not physically visit, when they're invited in, people in the sukkah feel their presence. And the question I have to ask to you, and it's not a rhetorical question, let's answer it in the chat, is who are the virtual guests we will invite this year? It could be people alive or people dead. It could be people we know or people we don't know. It could be concepts or qualities. It could be Jews or it could be Gentiles. But I'm going to ask people just to think for 30 seconds and to write in the chat box who they would like to be their virtual guests this year. And Andrea will read them as they come in.
Please enter into the chat box a deceased, my mother, my parents and my in-laws, my father, and Miles Davis. Please, others, feel free to share into the chat box. My grandparents, Golda Meir, Ralph Goldman, Bob Marley, David Levencruz. Claudia Pinka shares medical providers. Thank you, Claudia. My mom, who is in England. These are great.
These are really great. I'm just going to give 5 more seconds in case there's anybody else
Bill
who's
Withers,
a little shy
who just passed
and
away.
wants to share.
Optimism, perseverance, and resilience. My children and my grandchildren, and all of those that assemble ventilators.
This is a really, really beautiful list. I'm not just saying it, I'm actually sitting here feeling quite, there's a little bit of a click in my throat, as people can hear. What's particularly fascinating to me is I thought people were going to go very much for famous people or, you know, the outrageous, like I'd ask Jesus to my Pesach Seder. But in fact, most people said family. 1 or 2 people said famous people, but they were famous people very, very much who are part of our real history of liberation. And especially beautifully, I thought, to invite medical care professionals, crime prevention officers, essential workers to join us and to be able to thank that they were done. And there was a beautiful idea of different qualities to which I would add or bravery, acceptance, patience, adaptability, perseverance. So thank you all for sharing very much. Regardless of who we are, there are many who will be welcome at our Seder in the strange year when Ushpizin join us for Halachma Aniyah. This year, we will show our freedom by inviting in imaginary but very real guests. Next year, we will be truly free.
Thank you so much, David. We're now moving from Israel to Moldova, and I'd like to introduce Alina Groisman, manager of JDC Volunteer Center, Kishinev, Moldova, to share a little about Passover plans in Moldova.
Hi everyone, my name is Elena Groisman. I'm online with you from Moldova, a republic from former Soviet Union. It's a little country but very ambitious, believe me. I'm manager of the JDC Volunteer Center in Chisinau, and now I would like to share with you about what my community is planning to do on the Seder Pesach. But first of all, I would like to tell you that Pesach is one of my favorite Jewish holiday, and honestly, it was one of the first Jewish holiday about which I got to know when I was a child. In my childhood, I had a book, picture book, Agada. In this book was described the order of the Seder Pesach through the images. I think I learned by heart this book. And a few days ago, I went to find this book and I took a look on the cover and I was surprised. I discovered the JDC logo there. So I don't know how, but on that time, JDC made a value in my life telling about this wonderful holiday about Passover. But then I was 18. I was separated from the community for a long time. That is why my first Seder Pesach I attended when I was 16 years old. But I remember this evening exactly. Together with my friends, we were invited to the community Seder Pesach in the Kishinev Jacobs Jewish campus. Everything was so amazing and so traditional and so family-like. But the only thing that was so strange for me that everybody sang the stages of the Seder. I was not a good singer, so not now, and it was a little bit difficult for me, but it was great. It was great and I enjoyed it. For all years after that, I've been trying to do my best to gather together all my friends and make a real Seder Pesach. Every year we did blessings, we did traditional order. But today, in this situation in which we are, it's very difficult. This year, me and my community, we decided to make Seder Pesach online. So we call it like 21st century Seder, like a joke, just like many of you listening might also be doing. For sure, we want to invite on this Seder Pesach also seniors who are from our community. And they think that we will gather more than 200 people online with us. For all these weeks, volunteers made the delivery about 500 product sets for lonely seniors. Also by phone, volunteers inform seniors how to connect to the Zoom meeting for Seder. Thanks for the volunteers, seniors can celebrate Seder Pesach together with us. On this slide, you can see volunteers who package 500 product sets. On the next slide, you can see the volunteer who asked by the phone about how to connect to the Zoom and how to be connected to the online Seder Pesach. Not every senior and families at risk, unfortunately, has an access to the internet or they have computer at home. And every day, our volunteers, they inform more than 1,000 seniors and more than 200 families at risk by phone about what happens in our country. So also volunteers, they ask about needs. And in our volunteer team, we have 19 volunteer drivers, 28 volunteers who do no contact delivery, and more than 25 volunteers operators by phone. I would like to share with you now some words which said elderly from Hesse. You can see her face on the slide. So she said, "Dear friends from Volunteer Center RVC, thank you so much. It's a great happiness to know and understand that you remember and care about us. We want to do everything to gather together as many as possible our member community. And I know that in such difficult situation, every member will enjoy the Seder Pesach and everybody will feel as a free person. Thank you."
Thank you, Lena. We now move from Moldova to Poland, and I'd like to introduce Agata Rakiewicz, Director, JDC, Warsaw, Poland.
Hello, everyone. It's very special to connect like this. I wish I could see all of you, but I don't lose hope that one day, hopefully soon, we'll have opportunities to meet. So again, my name is Agata Rakowiecka, and I'm connecting with you from my apartment in Warsaw, which became a director's office of the Jewish Community Center of Warsaw. And I was asked to share my first Passover memory. And actually, like most of Polish Jews from my generation, I grew up with no access to Jewish traditions. And my connection with the Jewish community started and bloomed because of the opportunities that JDC gave to give others something I didn't have, which is Jewish education. I became a camp counselor, a madricha in Sarvash camp. And my first memory of Passover is when I prepared an activity for the children at the camp to teach them about Passover. So I was learning about the holiday while preparing for the activity. I remember we acted out the 10 plagues. And then 20 years later, I was leading a table at a Jewish community center. And again, I had the privilege to show the world of Jewish tradition, this time to families with 4 generations present who are experiencing it for the first time. And all the efforts we put into strengthening Jewish identity and Jewish community building aim to have people ready to cultivate and be Jewish regardless of the circumstances. And this year, we're pushed by the unexpected crisis, but we will be together in our tradition, even though physically apart. And the work we have put to strengthen Jewish identities is bringing fruits. The amount of empathy and readiness to help each other, even small gestures of solidarity and responsibility for one another, and the sense of really being a Jewish community are amazing. And I'm so proud to be part of it. At the JCC, we encourage people to make their own seders. We send visual and text materials, run a number of preparatory webinars, including making your own matzah or Passover songs. We deliver matzah to those who cannot get it on their own, which is a very, very symbolic gesture. It's the core of JDC memory for the old generation. And yet here we are facing this need again. For those who are alone or want to connect with the wider community, our JC is planning an online center with variety of interactive fun elements for families. And in this case, we no longer have the problem of the lack of space in our building, and we're expecting participants from across the country or even some members of our community who are now in other countries. That's for the optimistic note, and thank you very much, and Chag Sameach to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Agata. To help us all think about how to bring this global world to our own Seder tables, I'd like to now introduce Rabbi Josh Makudis, Jewish learning designer, JDC Entwine.
Thanks so much, Andrea. Nice to be here with everyone today. So as Andrea mentioned, my name is Joshua Makudis. I'm JDC Entwine's Jewish learning designer and the rabbinic director of the Weitzman JDC Fellowship. So at Entwine, we work as the young professional platform of the Joint. Entwine is building a generation of young Jews who live and lead a life of action with global Jewish responsibility at its core. One of the key areas I work in is integrating Jewish content into all that we do, from helping our trip leaders facilitate a Maimonides text study for our participants when they visit his home in Morocco, to training the next generation of Reform rabbis, cantors, and educators to internalize and integrate global Jewish responsibility into their everyday work. Another part of Entwine's work that I have the pleasure to be a part of is our do-it-yourself or DIY toolkits. These toolkits allow JDC Entwine to bring global Jewish content to people's homes all over the world, allowing our alumni to continue to engage with our work and Jewish values when they aren't traveling or volunteering with us, and being able to share their experiences with their local communities. It's particularly interesting to note that 2/3 of those who have participated in our programs are those who currently identify as having no or a low Jewish background. Therefore, we are so pleased that so many of these alumni go on to use our DIY content and continue to engage with global Jewish responsibility upon returning home from overseas experiences. As you can imagine, all of these offerings are all the more critical during this shelter-in-place moment. 3 years ago, I worked with our amazingly creative staff to develop Reordered, a DIY Passover toolkit. Taran, can you show the first slide? That would allow people around the world to expand their stories, tastes, and questions of their Passover Seder to include things like recipes for Ethiopian chickpea matzah. Can we have the next slide? How to say l'chaim or in Ladino or many of these other languages that you see here. And can we see the next slide? And varied stories of the resilient spirit of the Jewish people all over the world and the Joint's role in standing by them at all times. This year, we're so happy to be able to not only offer a refreshed physical toolkit, we're really thrilled to have shipped out 1,000 toolkits to people all over the world, but to provide you all with a digital option as well, to be able to download this toolkit from our website to make your Seder global. This is a product that we have created for anyone looking to feel more connected to the global Jewish world. We can't take people around the world right now, but we can bring the world to them. At this moment, we are all experiencing isolation. The magic of Reordered is that it brings global connection and community in a box or a downloaded file. So here are 3 things that you can do, all found in Reordered to go global during your Seder, even if it's virtual. 1, bring in food from different traditions. Maybe this year it's chimichurri roast chicken from Argentina or egg curry from India. 2, ask 4 questions that open the conversation for what you can do to make next year different when it comes to supporting global Jewish communities. Or 3, use JDC archives to find moments from different moments of Jewish history, or tell your own family stories of Exodus. All of these are small ways that we can work to expand the Seder beyond the bounds of your table's 4 corners or the 4 corners of your computer screen. In addition to Reordered, we've created The Thread, JDC Entwine's virtual meeting place for young adults, providing online content ranging from exclusive calls with Asher Ostrin to Instagram takeovers by former Jewish Service Corps fellows to share their own experiences of working during a crisis moment to a virtual Shabbat for our alumni. Taran, can we see the next slide? Tomorrow, one of our alumni, Ksenia Prince, who created the cookbook for Reordered, will be teaching how to make plov on our JDC Entwine Facebook page. So I invite all of you to tune in at 3 p.m. You can also find the ingredient list on the page as well, so you can cook along with Ksenia. In the Haggadah, we speak about how God took us from slavery to freedom, from darkness to light. At this uncertain and unsettling time, we at Entwine are so honored to be able to offer our content and Reordered to bring people from isolation to community. Can we see the last slide, Taran? And if you follow this link, you can download a digital copy of one of our toolkits. Hag Sameach and a meaningful Passover to all.
Thank you, Josh. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us and participating today. I'd like to thank all of our speakers, David, Alina, Agatha, Josh, for spending time with us, sharing their insight and their stories. If you'd like to learn more, as Josh said, about the work that JDC is doing, as well as download a Reordered toolkit, we invite you to visit jdc.org, where we keep information updated on the emergency as it becomes available. As you heard today, while responding to this particular crisis is new, JDC responding to emergencies is not. We're living in unprecedented times. The crisis is reaching into every aspect of our lives, including connecting to family and friends when we celebrate holidays. And that is why we so appreciate you joining us on this call today. We're working towards a common goal around the world. People are depending on us, relying on us, and we are thankful for the work that our supporters allow us to do so nimbly. And most importantly, we want to make sure that you are staying safe. JDC will be here without fail. As we gather around the Seder table, JDC thanks you for making Jewish life thrive all over the world. Chag Sameach to all.
Today, while responding to this particular health crisis is new for JDC, responding to emergencies is not. We are in unprecedented times, and this crisis is reaching into every aspect of our lives. And that is why we are so appreciative that you joined us on the call today, because you care. The third webinar in our series will be this coming Monday, April the 6th, and will include voices from around the world sharing how our communities are celebrating Passover during this difficult time of isolation. We're working toward a common goal. People are depending on us, relying on us, and we're thankful for the work that our supporters allow us to do. Most importantly, please stay safe and healthy during these extraordinary times. JDC will continue to be there for those who need us most without fail. Thank you.